Hello students, welcome back for the course of MBA Semester 4 International Human Resource Management. Today is our lecture number 22nd, 23rd and 24th. The topic of our today's discussion is cross-culture negotiation, or we will also call it as cross-cultural negotiation. So, the primary objective of our today's session is help to understand the concept of cross-cultural negotiation. The contents of our today's session are cross-culture negotiation means CCN, cross-cultural negotiation CCN. Another topic is essentials of cross-cultural negotiation means CCN, stages of CCN, conflict resolution, cross-cultural negotiation and cultural diversity. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss it today. So the topic of our today's discussion is cross-cultural negotiation. We were already familiar with the cross-culture wherever people those who are belonging to different culture and they are communicating with each other, that is called as cross cultural communication. And as though they are going to involve in the process of communication, that process is nothing but the process of bargaining. Okay, so any kind of issues, problems, or any particular task which has been associated with to arrive any sort of solution by means of using some mutual discussion or communication, okay, that will be called as negotiation. Okay, so negotiation is nothing but a process of bargaining among the various parties, okay, so as to arrive some particular solution which can be acceptable to both the parties amicably. Now when we are talking about this negotiation as a cross cultural negotiation, okay, in case of businesses, particularly in international businesses, when do people communicate with each other and they try to resolve any particular issues by means of using either mutual discussion or by means of using the process of bargaining, in general negotiation, they are going to involve in certain communication process wherever they will exchange their values and opinions with each other, okay, and they carry out some sort of business negotiations. So maybe they are being related with the customers, the stakeholders, the other organizational members, okay, they comes in contact with each other and they try to get some amicable solution, okay, on any particular issues, and they are involved in the process of that negotiation. Internationally, okay, taking decision will not be a very easier task. Here we need to consider the various parameters of cross cultural communication when we are communicating specially with the expatriates or any other international assignees. So negotiation will become the cross cultural whenever parties those who are involved in the process of communication as they belong to different culture, and therefore that negotiation process will be called as a cross cultural negotiation. Okay, so whenever any kind of negotiation that happens among the parties, wherever they are being belonging to some different culture, that time that negotiation process will be called as cross cultural negotiation. During the cross cultural communication or cross cultural negotiation, people do their exchange their values, social customs, habits, traditions, thinking, feeling, and behaving, and so many other things with each other, and they tries to get some amicable solution. So in this way we are conducting a cross cultural negotiation. It is exactly related with the communication process, that is called as a cross cultural negotiation process or cross cultural communication process. So some of the authors told that negotiation is called as a dialogue between two or more parties, two or more person, whenever they try to come with each other and try to get some amicable solution to the problem. That is called as a cross cultural negotiation, as they belonging to different culture. This is also related with the interpersonal and intergroup communication processes. Okay, as the decision could be taken at personal level, corporate level, international, or any diplomatic level. So, how specially that we should have to communicate with each other whenever the people those are belonging to this different culture, and how to carry out this negotiation process till end, so that we can conclude that negotiation process very appropriately by getting the amicable solution to the problem. So this negotiation process, okay, that will direct the parties those who are involved in the process of that communication, so as to get some amicable solution by particularly by means of using mutual trust, understanding, relationship, and participation. If you want to make any kind of negotiation process as successful as possible, so we need to get involved the people as well as the other organizational members. They should come forward and they amicably think over, so as to get the appropriate solution to the problem by means of using some sort of mutual trust among the members. Okay, mutual understanding, relationship building, and participation. Effective participation is very essential for making our cross cultural negotiation to get to a success, so that we can meet the solution to the problem under study. When we are talking about how does the cross cultural communication happens, okay, whenever we are carrying out any sort of global negotiation, okay, global negotiation is nothing but the cross cultural communication among the members of the organization those who are being internationally located. That time your negotiation process went global. Okay, here you are going to communicate with the unknown persons, that they those are being belonging to the different socio cultural background, and negotiating socially culturable, okay, or cross culturally is one of the single most important global business skill. So how to negotiate effectively in the international world, okay, in the global business world specifically, it is one of the very important art and skill today. How effectively we should have to involve in the process of that cross cultural negotiation. So we were already discussed the four pillars, okay, that pillars is one of the very important factors to make your cross cultural negotiation as effective as possible. Global negotiations contains there are several issues, and therefore they are complex in nature. Say for example, we are considering the issue like compensation of the international expatriate. So how do they carry out their negotiations amicably and arrive on very appropriate form of solutions? So global negotiation and domestic negotiation, there is some little bit difference on the basis of some sort of complexity and dimension of cultural diversity. As in the domestic market, the socio-cultural background of the home country are quite similar here. Carrying out the negotiation would be quite simple and will not be tedious job. Whereas carrying out the negotiations, particularly global negotiations with the expatriate, with other international managers, it is a complex type of phenomena because language barrier, because of other socio-cultural diversity related issues that may vary from country to country, and therefore negotiation will not be always the best approach to do the business. Many times we are using a very simple form of strategy, and that strategy is called as take it or leave it. Whether the parties those are involved in the process of negotiation, either they will consider it or they will leave it. So what will be more effective in making your negotiation process as complete as possible? Okay, they are concentrating on that and making that negotiation as a form of communication strategy. The next topic is essentials of communication. If you want to make your negotiation as successful as possible, we will already talk about some four important pillars. We will discuss here also. Negotiating is compared with bargaining, or taking it or leave it approach is a time consuming and patience testing phenomena. Negotiation is a long term process. It doesn't mean that parties those who are involved in the negotiation process they will agreeing on all the terms and conditions in the one meeting. So that requires some sort of patience and appropriate form of listening to the other party and simultaneously sharing our own values and other sort of phenomena. As a rule, managers should negotiate when any one of the following conditions exist. Now, when we are talking about how to make our communication as successful as possible, first and the foremost things, if you want to do the international business, okay, you must have some high degree of spirit, particularly in the form of communication, so that you must be believable. So there must be some mutual trust that has been very very essential, and that trust level should be high. As sufficient time is available to explore each party's multiple needs, resources, and options, try to devote more and more time so as to know about the stakeholders, the customers, the foreign international parties that with whom that we are conducting the negotiation. Once we spend some sufficient amount of time in the negotiation process, then and then only it is easier to understand them and their culture also. Simultaneously, some other factors, say for example commitment, okay, and dedication. So that will be another important criteria to make our negotiation as successful as possible. So rather than making a compliance, concentrating on fulfilling the commitments from each other, okay, so that all the parties that those who are being connected in the process of negotiation, they will finally arrive on the amicable solution and agrees on other terms and conditions in the form of agreement. While discussing about your essentials of cross cultural communication, there are many of the things that we should have to keep in mind. We are already familiar with that doing business is not a very simple phenomena. It is a tough task, and conducting the international business that requires some special type of skills, particularly in the form of communication skills. So business will not occur unless your negotiations are successful. You need to be keep in mind, if you are a international manager, international HR manager, or any expatriate, those who are involving in the process of communication. So you need to carry out your negotiation process as effective as possible. Here you will face a lot of difficulty, particularly in the initial stage. Sometimes we should have to make the use of translators and other socio-cultural analysts. People those who are belonging to the different culture, okay, they are having their own negotiation styles and other approaches, particularly during the process of communication, and simultaneously they are having different communication styles also, even different strategies of persuasion, so that we can influence them appropriately, and different set of protocols as per their own societies in which they were grown up. So once all these social cultural settings are different, those who are belonging to different business environment, different socio cultural environment, so all these things are vary from culture to culture, country to country, societies to societies, and they should maintain their own communication style, negotiating style, okay, as well as whatever form of persuasive form of communication, so that they can influence the others appropriately by maintaining some social protocols. It doesn't mean that there will not be any sort of conflict during the process of negotiation. Whatever form of conflict, that conflict is nothing but a differences in the form of opinion. That differences can be viewed or overviewed again and again, that can be managed and resolved very amicably, so that we can make our negotiation process as successful as possible. Some of the authors also told about what exactly is the negotiation. Negotiating is nothing but it is all about the attitude. In what way you understand the others, what kind of opinion that you would have about others, how do you pursue about others, and how willingly you are involved in the process of communication appropriately, so that you can get the amicable solution to the problem. Okay, everything depends on the personal attitude. You should have to keep your moral high and use of positivism to make your negotiation process as successful as possible. Some other form of tools, okay, or we will call them as an approaches, which are being available to make your negotiation process as successful as possible, so as to reach the final outcome or final conclusion. It doesn't mean that during the negotiation process that you are sitting on the negotiation table and your negotiation process will be complete within the 1 hour. It doesn't mean that. You need to spend a lot of time along with the parties and try to listen them appropriately, and simultaneously you should have to speak and behave in an appropriate fashion. Some of us are being considering that negotiating is a win-win situation, particularly those who are having a high bargaining power. Okay, they will put up their things in an appropriate way with some evidences and try to convince in a very persuasive way. wherever parties those are having a sound form of sufficient resources, they are getting the more weightages as compared to another one, and therefore there will be a process through which both side, okay, can gain. And that's why we are saying that it is a win-win situation. One party says something, okay, why does that they are going to involve it, another party that they are saying in some different way, okay, why they are not going to involve it in, and finally they will come across the situation amicably, okay, by means of using mutual trust, negotiation and discussion, and by means of using the mutual understanding and communication. So they are looking for their own mutual gain from both the sides. So either in this way we will see the win-win situation, both the parties can be benefited. Some of the authors says that, okay, it is a zero sum mentality where someone gains must always equal to someone loss. Now it finally depends on the negotiating parties, okay, how does they were prepared for their negotiation process. Here we are talking about that zero sum mentality. Now in case of zero sum mentality, okay, people will consider that someone, that those who can do very appropriately they will gain as compared to another one, okay, wherever another party will suffer a loss over there. So in this way they will think, okay, it is just opposite to the win-win situation. In this form of negotiation, one of the party will get ahead in the process of communication by putting some facts very appropriately, and they tries to gain the advantage over the another. It doesn't mean that both the parties are getting the loss over here, or both the parties are gaining the gain over here, okay. Here one party will get the gain, another party will get some sort of loss in the process of negotiation, and finally they will tries to arrive some amicable solution. If both the parties comes to the negotiation table without having done some serious thinking, means preparation about the barriers and complexities of cross cultural communication, there will be low probability that negotiation will be successful. We will already talk about the four pillars of our negotiation process. Without mutual trust, commitment, mutual understanding, effective persuasion, one cannot make your negotiating process as successful as possible. Simultaneously, you need to prepare with whom that we need to conduct the negotiations, and we need to prepare our mentality in such a way that, okay, we should have to involve in the serious form of discussion rather than whatever form of barriers are to be there in the process of cross cultural communication. If we are involved in this cross cultural communication or cross cultural negotiation, definitely there will be a plenty of barriers and complexities would be there, as these parties are belonging to different socio cultural environment. And so if anyone, those who are not prepared well, okay, they will suffer that cross cultural negotiation could not reach to the optimum level, and their negotiation process will not be successful. Stages of cross cultural communication. So these are the there are four important stages of negotiation process. The first one is called as relationship building. The second one is called as exchanging the task related information. Third one is persuasion. The last one, making the connections and agreement. There is no such a difference between connections and connections, okay. Both are having the same meaning wherever we try to build the relationship among the member parties. However, culture differ in the degree to which value is placed on each stage of negotiation relationship. Now, in what way these socio-cultural differences that vary across the various culture, the various societies and countries. Considering these particular aspects, we need to consider these four important steps to make our negotiation process as successful as possible so as to solve the problem amicably among the parties with each other. Here there are lots of examples that I have given with respect to relationship building. The first one is called as relationship building. It is the first and the foremost stage in the process of negotiation. Here we tries to develop the relationship with the parties those are being concerning the negotiation process. This can be done with the help of building the interpersonal relationship among the negotiating parties. You must have some social and personal contacts, particularly with the unknown groups, so that you can make your communication, you can begin the process of communication over here. For example, Japanese, okay, they are spending more time in building the relationship, okay, and rather than suppose say the Americans, whereas Americans, okay, they are quite social as compared to the Japanese, okay, but they are having the different form of attitude towards building the relationship, and they will not consider themselves it is one of the important factor, and they will spend less amount of time than the Japanese. Going further, that Japanese, they will spend a lot of time after the official meetings out of the town. Particularly, they will go for eating, drinking, outing with the other members, and tries to make more and more social, and they tries to remove all the form of barriers during the process of negotiation. So they tries to generate a lot of trust among the process of negotiation among the other member countries. Even in case of Americans, where there is a suppose say they are carrying out the first meeting, so they may want to get down to the business. They primarily talk about their business, what exactly they are dealing with, and so many other things. Whereas during the first meeting, the Japanese, that they will talk on generalities, okay. What should be the primary thinking of either suppose say Americans or Japanese over here? How to begin the process of communication, that is primarily depend on their socio-cultural context in which they were grown up, and how considerably they are giving importance to build a relationship among them. So these two examples are very common, particularly to understand the process of negotiation by means of Americans and Japanese people. The next would be what called as the exchanging the task related information. Now once we are trying to build the relationship with the other people, wherever we are exchanging the socio-cultural settings with each other, we are involved in the process of cross-cultural negotiation by exchanging of information and understanding each other's situation and needs. So here we will listen and understand the need and requirement of the parties with each other. It is one of the most difficult tasks to understand the parties, those who are involved in the process of negotiation. So sufficient amount of time would be paid while during the process of listening the task related information. So understanding the other party's situation, interests, needs and their requirements according to their own cultural settings, that is one of the prime importance over here. People those who are having uh, they are coming from different culture, they are having some different opinion values, and they will look and some different problem, commonly view the problems, reality and business operations in this some different way, because in which culture that they were grown, okay, from which particular home and host country that they belong, and so there will be the huge cultural diversity can be identified over here. And even considering these cultural diversities, we need to provide an appropriate forum wherever we can negotiate it appropriately with the parties with each other. So sufficient amount of time and some sincere efforts has to be made so that we can concentrating on the process of negotiation process so as to achieve the success in the negotiation process by means of listening and understanding everybody's situation and making our negotiation process as successful as possible. The third stage is called as persuasion. Persuasion is nothing but the art of influencing the people. How effectively one can persuade others. It is just like the form of advertising. Even in advertising, we try to influence the behavior of the customers or prospective group of customers. Now here everything depends on the parties, those who are involved in the process of communication. How effectively one can influence the another party, okay, their own belief, position or their viewpoint, that depends on how well their party has been prepared to communicate with the another party. For example, Americans quickly persuade the other party to agree with their offer, bid, contract and so forth. They are quite sensible about business, Americans, and therefore they will tries to agree, okay, in the immediate position once they identified some business offer, bid or contract. Americans view this stage as one of the very important stage for themselves because that gives rise to businesses, okay. So they will spend a very quite little amount of time, okay, in a very effective form of persuasive communication. Whereas Japanese, okay, Japanese will take some sufficient amount of time to think and to react on the situation. Japanese should only take the place after the mutual trust has been established. They will identify during the process of negotiation how does the relationship has been grown up among themselves and the parties with each other. For Americans, persuasion can be take place quickly with the appeals to logic, rationality, and overriding the need of warm interpersonal relationship. Wherever Americans that they will consider, okay, it is a business opportunity that gives rise to business, so they will spend some lesser amount of time and they will be keen to make the business only by means of using their interpersonal relationships, by means of considering the social groups. The first stage is called as connection and agreement. as we were already told you that there is no difference in between connection and connection. Okay, in socio-cultural settings, how effectively one can build the relationship among the others, that is the primary objective of almost all types of negotiation processes, and how mutually that they tries to agree among themselves so that they can finally comes into contract with each other by satisfying and considering everybody's situations. So when we are talking about the Japanese, okay, Japanese value this phase less than the Americans. Japanese people will not consider this phase will be an important phase as compared to the Americans. Okay, Americans try to be more social and they tries to get involved in the process of communication. So both the parties they try to spend some considerable amount of time with each other. Okay, according to author that is called as Adler, Americans negotiated sequentially and they will discuss and attempt to agree on one issue at a time. So there will be, suppose they are going to finalize a contract. In contract there are several provisions. So one by one all provisions are discussed among the parties, those who are involved in the process of this negotiation, and after studying one aspects they are getting for the another one. So they are agreed on one issue at a time and getting the another issue later on. In this way they are mutually trying to negotiate it with the parties. Throughout the bargaining process, Americans make very many small connections, okay, which they expect their opponent to reciprocate, and then they are finalizing the list of connections into overall agreement. Now during the overall process of that cross cultural negotiation, American tries to pinpoint such a kind of issues very socially, okay, that they are discussing, and they tries to improve their social well-being and getting involved in the process of communication, and they tries to make the environment so feasible to discuss almost all type of issues very amicably, wherever they are also expecting that the another party will do in the same fashion and they will communicate to them and respond to them appropriately. Similarly, Japanese they do not tend to spend lot of time and energy on making the small connections and reciprocate their opponent connections. Japanese people are quite conscious about their timings and punctuality also. Instead, uh, they view the process holistically, trying to understand each other's side view, needs, building trust, and then tries to make the connections. Here, mutual trust is a very important factor, particularly for Japanese people, and then once they tries to understand whether the parties those who are involved in the process of negotiation, which is quite trustful, okay, which is trustworthy, even they are keenly involved in the process of negotiation, then and then only they tries to improve their connections, and they finally they are winding up their negotiation processes by mutually agreeing on the terms and conditions. So in this way these four important stages we should have to keep in mind while during the process of cross cultural negotiation. The next topic is called as conflict resolution. Whenever we are involved in the process of cross cultural communication or cross cultural negotiation, there will be different sort of situation on which the conflict can be arises. That conflict can be arises due to whatever form of situation has been supposed to be there, and wherever they try to meet the amicable solution to resolve that particular conflict. It is not a labor conflict over here. Labor conflict will be a matter with respect to labor laws. Here, the conflict which can be related with HR persons, some recruitment policies, compensation, allocation of resources, and so many other things, training and development. So we will identify that there are two types of primary culture that we will discuss during the Happosted cultural theory. Here, collectivist collectivitism, if you remember that collectivitism, wherever we try to achieve the group goals, team spirit would be the important parameter for themselves. Collectivist culture tend to avoid the open conflict while individualistic culture meet the confrontation head on and often believing that confrontation is the quickest route to problem solving. Now it depends on in which particular society you have been grown up, in which particular society, from which particular country that you came from, and how much importance you have been given to arrive the amicable solution by means of using either the conflict resolution. Sometimes there will be a open conflict resolution. In collectivistic culture, issues are open to discuss and to arrive the solution, whereas in case of individualistic culture, okay, it can be confronted or decided by the higher management so as to resolve any other particular issues very appropriately by means of using the mutual meeting and discussions among them. What the higher management or the organization they may think fit, considering it, they will pass on that confrontation and to implement to solve the particular problem. Cross cultural negotiation conflict may be evident even before the two parties sit down to talk. When we are talking about the cross cultural negotiation, whenever both the parties they are completely unknown to each other, that is nothing but a form of conflict to each other. But how to resolve that conflict amicably on the negotiation table, either by means of using mutual trust negotiations, okay, social meetings, gatherings, okay, and so many other things. So how does that you can lead your negotiation process that is completely in the hand of the parties that those are being involved in the process of that cross cultural negotiation. When locked in negotiation, if suppose your negotiation does not getting any amicable solution, in that case it is important to take into consideration the differences in the decision making between the different culture, what the other parties and what form of parameters are being more important to them. In this way that we should have to think, the other parties also has to reciprocate the things in the similar sense. If your negotiation process has locked and you are not getting the amicable solution to the problem, in that case both the parties they tries to remove the differences in the process of decision making and try to get the amicable solution. Here sometimes we should have to take some initiative, okay, or sometimes there will be a loss or gain would be there, and we try to involve in the process of communication until unless we could not communicate with them, we could not came to the solution. In some culture where power is decentralized culture, say for example United States and Australia, wherever you will find out that multicultural societies are there, okay, the organizations are multi-structural organizations where decision making activity will be as fast as possible as compared to any other single individual countries. However, in case of collectivistic culture, say for example Japan and China, okay, decision making activity will take some sufficient amount of time by means of using mutual consonance, okay, or mutual trust, okay, and that will take some sufficient amount of time. However, implementation of the decision it will be quicker in collectivistic countries. See, these collectivistic countries they will take a sufficient amount of time to take the decision. Once the decision has been taken, they will implement that decision, okay, as faster as possible as compared to the individualistic societies. So in this way, we try to conduct the process of negotiation, okay. So however, implementation of decision is quicker in collectivistic culture as opposed to the individualistic culture that often demand fight to the question the decision headed down. So sometimes we should have to get back from the process of negotiation and withdraw from the process of negotiation if your negotiation process has been locked, if you are not getting the appropriate solution. The another topic will be called as CCN and cultural sensitivity, means cross cultural communication and cultural sensitivity. As we already discussed in unit number 1 about the cultural sensitivity, people are being very much conscious and they will give some due concentration on some particular aspects of socio-cultural phenomena. Socio-cultural communication process and negotiation are important in understanding the cross-cultural sensitivity. If you want to carry out your cross-cultural communication or cross-cultural negotiation as effective as possible, you need to be sensitive towards the each and everybody's culture and respect those culture, those who are being involved into the international business related activities. In some countries like USA, Canada, Germany, Switzerland, the messages that people convey are explicit and clear. There is a clear cut communication would be there among certain countries. These kind of countries, those who are using some actual words to convey the process of communication or information, that is called as low context culture. We will already discuss about that low context culture during our cross cultural theories. Now when we are talking about some another countries, say for example India, Japan, Saudi Arabia and other Middle East countries, Arabian countries, communication will be indirect, or that can be an expressive way of communication which can be delivered through even body language, okay, wherever non-verbal messages can be transmitted during the process of communication, and these countries are also giving some due importance to them. So in these countries the messages can be understood only with the reference to the context, in what way which has been communicated. Such kind of culture, okay, is called as high context culture, okay, wherever both formal and informal way of communication has been chosen, particularly informal way of communication, indirect way of communication. American businessmen consider the failure of the Japanese to make an eye contact as a sign of rudeness, whereas the Japanese do not want the eye contact as it is regarded as an act of confrontation and aggression. Now, both the parties, say for example, American and Japanese, how do they consider the eye contact in between the parties with each other? Americans are expecting that okay, if the Japanese are failing to make the eye contact, okay, they will consider that they are of rude nature. Okay, they will consider themselves as a rude nature. Whereas Japanese, suppose they are making an eye contact with the another party, either it will means the confrontation, okay, either means the agreement on that particular issue, or aggression, okay, there will be some sort of either ignorance or just a form of not agreeing on that particular issue, that is the form of aggression. Sometimes it is related with the angriness, so that they could not consider themselves, and so they could not make an eye contact with each other. Now, considering these socio-cultural parameters of the respective countries, we have to make our cross-cultural communication and cross-cultural negotiation as effective as possible. So, that's all about our today's session. Thank you very much.